Face to value. Ah, keeping students engaged, keeping them interested in that lesson that we worked so hard on. We poured our blood, sweat, and tears into that lesson. How are we going to do it? Now you know I've got some ideas. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Erlene, and I've been teaching for 13 years. I have my bachelor's in early childhood education and I have my master's in special education. So my mission is to help you to create a caring, loving, and positive environment through classroom management. Now, what does lesson planning and keeping students interested have to do with classroom management? Well, if we can keep our students engaged and interested, then classroom management usually takes care of itself, right? Right. So how are we going to do that? Well, in my previous video about lesson planning, remember we talked about the backward method model. Be sure and check that video out. You watched it already, right? Okay, so we talked about making small groups. We talked about the backwards method. Now, let's talk about how can we keep those students engaged and interested in the lesson that we prepared for them. It's a big challenge. I'll give you one word: exploration. What do you think that means? We know the root word of exploration is explore. How are we going to keep them engaged in our lesson through exploration? We're going to allow them to explore, have a time where they get to look at manipulatives. If we're teaching a new math lesson, any kind of math manipulative that is new to them, because they're going to be so interested in those manipulatives. And if they haven't had time to explore them, discover them over and over again until that novelty wears off, we're fighting an uphill battle. I mean, we become invisible. And it's the same with any lesson. Look, a new phone. I'm going to get one soon, right? It's coming to me in the mail. When I get that new phone, do you think I'm going to immediately pull out the instruction tablet and get started? Or do you think I'm going to look it over, push buttons, take pictures, and just kind of explore it before I look into the instruction manual? What do you think? You know I'm going to push buttons and explore it before I read the instruction manual. Isn't that what you do? So it's the same with our kids. If we are wanting them to engage in a new lesson and it has manipulatives, something that we are trying to make fun for them, then give them a chance to explore with their hands, delve into it, so that the novelty of that new product wears off. Whatever we're trying to enhance that lesson with needs an exploration time. And that's not just for littles. I mean, it's especially true for littles, but even big kids. Remember, new phone. Everybody needs a time for exploration. So make sure that you build that into your lesson plan. And I think that will definitely help you when presenting that lesson, because when you pull out the manipulatives, if math is what you're doing or if science is what you're doing, they are going to be saturated, so to speak. They've had time to engage with those manipulatives and they are no longer over them, okay? Now, you're going to have one in every crowd, one that will never ever be ready to move ahead with the lesson and learning. But hey, one in a crowd is better than 25. Huh? Huh? Yeah. So what about if the lesson that we're preparing is language, or like my previous video mentioned, inference? How do we set up an exploration station for that? Well, we can have pictures and photographs or wordless books that the children can explore until we are ready to delve into that lesson. Then you may be thinking, oh, I can't even imagine trying to have an exploration time. I don't think it'll be worth it. Everything will be so out of order and chaotic. Besides, as long as it would take them to get used to it, I'd never have time to even teach the lesson. If you are trying to have a great lesson for your kids, special needs or not, if they are not engaging when you are ready to go over and review vocabulary words or build background knowledge, and you can't get them to engage or focus or be interested in you, aren't you losing time anyway? You might say, well, I'm not going to put the manipulatives out until I go over the vocabulary words and build the background knowledge. Then I will give them the manipulatives or the wordless books or whatever it is that you are trying to use to enhance that lesson. Once they get their hands on that, anything different, you know how they are. You've lost them, right? They're gone. Class over, lesson over. That's why I think it's very important to build into your lesson plan an exploration period. In fact, I have some notes about an exploration model. It's a very good website. I was very impressed. It's called whatihavelearnedteaching.com. And it gives the 5E model of instruction. Now they're kind of focusing here on science per se, but I love that they have free posters for you to download and use in your classroom. The first E, because it's 5 E's, remember? The first E is engage. Student interest is piqued. Students make connections with prior experience and understanding is connected. All right? Now, 2 is my favorite. The second E is explore. And notice the definition they have for this. It says, students explore the concept through hands-on activities, identify real questions, develop a hypothesis, and test variables. It's very important during your lesson planning to take into consideration what those kids will need in order to make connection to your lesson. The third E is explain. The direct instruction in this phase is presented in a collaborative fashion. Vocabulary is defined. Concepts are explained. So that's number 3. Number 4 is extend. Generalizations about the new learning is applied to previous investigations, and new hypotheses are tested to draw conclusions. Now, like I mentioned, this is more so for science, but you can definitely see how it can transfer to the rest of our curriculum, right? English, reading, all those things. All right, and the last and final E is evaluate. Students evaluate their own learning and prove what they know in writing, conversation, and demonstration. The 5E model instruction, I think it's great. And if we can do that in our lesson planning, when we sit down with our standards and the goals that we're trying to achieve, the objectives that we want to put into place for our kiddos, just remember, if you are trying to enhance that lesson, exploration time is key. It's key in getting those students to connect to what you are hoping they learn. All right? Be sure that they know the rules and the stipulations for engaging in that exploration activity. So if they are not doing things correctly, if they are, just bouncing off the walls, there is a way that we explore. And you will most definitely have to show that to them. You can take time, model it with another child. I know you're probably thinking, oh, I don't have time. If you take time on the front end, later on, once they learn it, you can hit the ground running. I have the same fears. I'm not going to have time to teach these kids what an exploration period looks like. We need to be learning. We've got to. You can try to hit the ground running without training. And what's going to happen every time? You're going to fall on your keister. You're going to fall. You haven't trained. You haven't practiced. So that's what you've got to do with our kids, with our littles. We've got to help them know that when we say exploration time is exploration time, we want them to know and have a picture in their mind of what that looks like. And they won't know unless you practice it with them and put it into place with what it looks like, what it doesn't look like. Now you may be wondering, how long should my exploration time be for the kids? When you are doing your lesson plan, make sure that you build in to each lesson plan a block of exploration time. And it doesn't have to be a super long period of time. In fact, getting to know your students, you may find that it doesn't take a long time. Well, you've got some that they need a lot of exploration depending on what type of class you have from year to year. So you can adjust it any way you see fit, but it is a very important factor when lesson planning. Don't forget it, because a lot of times if they are playing during that lesson and you can't seem to capture their attention and get them to focus on the objective, on the goals that you have for that particular lesson, it may be that they need an exploration period built into that lesson. And that all comes down to when you're lesson planning, right? So I hope this is something that will help you. I feel like it really helped me. And if it's something that you think would benefit you going forward, hey, use it. Did you hear something that you liked today? Something that you think you could use? Then hit the like button. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so when I come out with more content, you'll know. All right. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I appreciate you. Hey, let me know, in your lesson plans, do you always build in an exploration period into your lesson plans? Let me know. I want to know. And remember, you can create a caring and positive environment for your students and kiddos. Just show some love. Until next time, take care. Bye.